I'm the Director of Childhood Hunger Programs for Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina, and it is indeed a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you today as we celebrate the opening of 4 new backpack programs right here in the city of Lexington. Today, with your help, we officially mark the opening of the backpack programs in partnership with Communities and Schools of Lexington, Davidson County, Charles England Elementary, Lexington Middle, Lexington Senior High, South Lexington Primary. We all know that when we bring together the collective resources and commitment of organizations like Communities and Schools of Lexington, Davidson County, Charles England Elementary, Lexington Middle, Lexington Senior High, South Lexington Primary, and Second Harvest Food Bank, the results are truly powerful. Wonderful things happen. Hungry children are nourished, brighter futures become possible, families are made stronger, and each of us in this room benefits. So once again, I'd like to welcome you here today. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Clyde Fitzgerald, the Executive Director of Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina, to say a few words.
Thank you, Daisy. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It's great to be back in Lexington again. We know we have good friends here, and we're privileged to have the partnerships that we do in this community and in this county, and the support that not only the elected political leaders of your area, but the parents, the business people, and others that care about folks in this county and in this city, especially here in the schools. And so many of you are directly a part of the education system, and I want to start my comments by simply saying thank you for what you do. You have the greatest influence on our children of any group of people, and many of you spend more time with our children than we're able to do, and so you have great impact. What you do is of tremendous importance, and I thank you as a parent, as a grandparent. A great teacher and an educator is so vital to the future of our country, which is our children. So I want to thank you for what you do every day to help the children in your charge. We're here to celebrate something we wish we didn't have to celebrate, and that's providing food assistance to children. We don't think anyone should be hungry, certainly not a child, and I know that you think that the same way. But we know that there are young people in this community that do need that food assistance. And so Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina is in business to help provide food to those who need it. We have a special place in our heart and a special strategic priority in our food bank to help children. There's nothing more important than we do than to help feed children. Our country has a problem feeding children. Our country has a problem feeding folks of all ages. On a national basis, 16.6% of the national population, all ages, is what is called food insecure. That's the politically correct term for being hungry, for not knowing where the next meal is coming from, or if there's going to be a next meal. A very, very significant problem. 16.6% nationally. When we come to our state, North Carolina, that percentage jumps to 18.2%. And when it comes to this area, it's 18.7%. We're in a geographic area that's about the highest in the whole state of North Carolina. And there hasn't been any publicity about Lexington and Davidson County, but boy, where I live in Winston-Salem, we've had a lot of publicity, and it's not very favorable. When our area up there, which is 4 counties of Forsyth and Surrey, Forsyth, Stokes, Davidson, and Davie and Yadkin, those 4 counties rank #1 worst in the whole country for children being food insecure. That's a terrible ranking. We're used to things, hopefully, about whether it's basketball or football or something, leading the nation in those statistics, but not in our collective inability to feed our children. So I gave you some numbers about people of all ages in this country, in this state, and in this area. But let me tell you now about children under 18 that suffer from hunger, that are food insecure. On a national basis, it's amazing that over 23% of the children in this country suffer from hunger. 23%. When we come to the state of North Carolina, that number jumps to 27%. And right here in our area, it's 29%. Can you imagine that nearly 1 out of every 3 children suffers from hunger? That's unconscionable. It's outrageous. We're trying to change that picture, and I know you're trying to change that picture. That's the nature of the problem we're dealing with, and we all know, you know better than anyone, because you're in the education business, that a child that's not sufficiently fed with nutritious food can't possibly develop like a child that's well nourished all the time. They can't learn the same way, they can't adjust to dealing with their peers and others the same way, and problems will arise. There's plenty of programs to try to keep people in school and graduate from high school, which we certainly need. Our state also has a fairly lousy rate in that regard of only 30% for the whole state. The national average is 14% do not have a high school degree or the GED equivalent. And among people who need food assistance in our area, the 18 counties that we serve, that number jumps to 41%, triple the national average. So we have a generational education problem that relates to people's ability to have a job, to earn money, to have food to feed their families, their children, and that's what we're working with. We are blessed, and your community is blessed to have such a caring community and to have communities in schools. And you've got one of the greatest human dynamos that we've ever seen in Christina Howell, and you're going to hear from her in just a few minutes. But we are honored and privileged to partner with communities in schools, with the city of Lexington schools, and the schools in this county. We have 11 programs in your county, 6 of which are in your city. And I believe that with today's celebration, we're in every school in your city. And that's a great thing that we're there. We obviously are not covering all the children that need it, but Christina's working on that, and we'll get that squared away. But we are honored and privileged to be here. We thank you for what you do. We thank you for the partnership that we enjoy and the leadership that you provide, and that the leadership that all of you provide to help the children of this community. They are our greatest resource. Hunger is a solvable problem. These children and others in your community are blessed because each of you here are a vital part of the solution to the problem of hunger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clyde. And now I'd like to ask Christina Cooley-Howell, the Executive Director of Communities and Schools of Lexington, Davidson County, to come and say a few words.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I kind of think of this as we need to eat an elephant. No one really wants to eat an elephant. I mean, they're fun to look at, they're fun to go to the zoo and see, but when it comes down to it, here in Lexington, we much prefer pig, maybe the cow, maybe chicken, but no one really wants to eat an elephant. And you know, there's the saying, there's an elephant in the room that everybody's ignoring. And for a very long time, the poverty that is just so prevalent in this community has been that elephant. And part of that is, in fact, the numerous children that are going hungry every single day. We don't want to admit it. We don't want to think that that's something that happens here. We want to think that that happens in third world countries. We want to think that that happens maybe in some other state. But we don't want it to be right here in our own community. But the truth is, children go hungry every single day right here. And so a big part of my job has been saying, hey, there's an elephant right here. And you know what? We need to eat it. And that sounds very daunting. And when you look at a school system that has an average of 83% of its students on free and reduced lunch, that's a huge number of students that need food assistance. And so that elephant is not just any elephant, it's a huge elephant. But how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so that's exactly what we've done. We started out at Pickett Elementary, back when it was Pickett Primary 3 years ago. And that just took off, and it was a smashing success. And so then we saw more and more community support. And so we said, well, you know what, we're going to open up in more schools. And so we have. And honestly, I thought that eventually, yes, one day we would be in all 6 city schools. But in my mind, it was going to be several years down the road. Instead, I found that we have a whole community of people who actually care. And I knew that. But it turned out that all of these people cared. They just didn't know how to go about finding the elephant to eat it. And so I see my job at communities and schools is to simply hand out the forks. To say, here's your elephant. Here's your fork. If you'll just take a little bite, that's all you can handle, fine. If you got a big appetite, you can take a big plate, then by all means, take as much as you can. But because we've had so many people who have been willing to step up and take the fork and to take a bite out of it, we now send home 300 backpacks every weekend just here in Lexington City. Now, we could send out hundreds more. And now that I've seen how everyone is embracing this, then that's my plan. I'm going to keep pushing until all of our students who are hungry are taking food home with them. And it has just been a privilege to work with all of you here in the school systems, to work with Second Harvest Food Bank, but more importantly, to work with a community that truly cares about its own. So many of our students, they feel abandoned, they feel lonely, they feel like no one cares. They've got really challenging life situations. But for us to be able to say to them, actually, your community cares. Here's some food. Go home this weekend. Don't come back to school on Monday hungry. Come back with a little something in your stomach and know that we believe in you and we want to help you achieve your potential. I have the most rewarding job in the world, and I couldn't do it without all of your support. So thank all of you for what you've done to help us get here today. And soon, hopefully, we're going to be doing this where we are expanding and we are sending home even more programs full of backpacks. And one day, I hope that we can have a celebration where we don't need to do this anymore because we found a way to cure it. That's probably more in my long-range plan than in my short-range plan. But seeing how everyone has embraced this, I do think it is something that we can accomplish if we continue to work together. So thank all of you for your support and for being here today.
Thank you, Christine. I'll be waiting for some phone calls from you on the expansion.
Okay.
As we move forward. I want to thank the community also because Christina shared with me, this is a community-wide effort by the community for the community. So thank you all. I'd like to ask right now the superintendent of the Lexington City Schools, Mr. Richard Kresge, to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Daisy. We have a lot of thank yous that need to go out to many, many, many people in this community. First and foremost, community and schools, and Christina does a tremendous job. She has given us the vehicle and put us in connection with the Second Harvest Food Bank to find the vehicle to get this done, and we so much appreciate that. Food Bank, it is wonderful. You have given us the blueprint on how to make a difference in the lives of our children before they come to our school on Monday morning. Thank you very, very much. The community itself is such a giving community. It's hard to describe. Everybody from the United Way to, I can just name organizations, go right down the list. This community is in the business of helping people, and we appreciate that, but more importantly, our children appreciate that. And for the future of our community, it bodes well. It truly, truly does. I want to talk just a second about what the backpack program, what the face of the backpack program looks like to me. because it's not about the 82 or 83% that are on free and reduced lunch. It's not about those statistics that we hear once a year on television. It's about those children who on Monday morning come to school and without a connection to the backpack program, they lay their head down on the desk because they just don't feel like they can do anything else. The hunger pains that probably most of us have never experienced, or it's been quite a while since we've experienced, they experience on almost a daily basis. And certainly over a weekend when they've not had possibly any food or very little food, they come to school on Monday with those hunger pains and needing to either put their head down on their desk or just be lethargic, just be very non-participatory. And how can we expect our students or anyone to learn, to gain, to grow when they're in that condition? And so the face of this for me is beyond all those numbers that are quite shocking. It's about those children that come to school. And you know, those children come to our pre-K and K center, but they also come to our high school. And sometimes those children come not just lethargic, sometimes they come angry. And this makes such a difference in their life. We talked about, when we talked about the possibility of expanding this program, we talked about how, well, are high school students really going to embrace this? Because, you know, sometimes there's a bit of embarrassment as they get older. Our children have embraced it. And they've not only embraced it, the students who are a part of this program, but our other students who have embraced it, and they are a part of putting the backpacks together. And so that giving that's within our community is already spreading among the student body. Everybody's a winner here. Everybody. The only ones that we need to continue to work for are the ones that we're not helping yet, who are in need. But thank you so very much for what you do, each and every one of you. You're here today. This is just a kickoff. This is not a huge thing where we're doing something other than just commemorating what our community is doing. And thank you. You understand what it means. You understand what this is about. And I know it will only get better. So thank you very much. You're here, you understand, and you're part of the solution, not part of the problem. And as you hear people talk about the backpack program, in your mind's eye, think about that child that comes to school on Monday, hungry and lethargic or angry, and think about how you can make their lives better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Kresge. I remember not too long ago, I think it was early spring, that we all got together, and one thing you said to me, and Christina said the same thing, I want one of these backpack programs in each of the schools in the city of Lexington. It is now a reality. We will continue to feed more children, so thank you. I'd like to ask now the principal from South Lexington Primary, Principal Jennifer Brown, to please come up and share a few words.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the staff and students at South Lexington School, I'm honored to be here today to thank Communities in Schools and the Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina for helping to feed hungry children at South Lexington School. I serve approximately 430 4- and 5-year-old children. I work for them. Our teachers work for them. And even though they are only 4 and 5 years old, we have very high academic expectations for them. The marquee out in front of our school right now has a slogan that reads, "We're gaining knowledge for college." We began to talk that language to our children even at preschool and kindergarten. But our children cannot meet those expectations if they are hungry. I had a little boy in my office today who'd had a little meltdown
And after he calmed down and we were talking about what he could have done differently in his classroom, he said, "My belly is starving." And I was easily able to provide a snack for him. In the mornings, we can provide breakfast. At lunchtime, we can provide a meal, and we can provide snacks, whether it's something from the cafeteria or something out of a teacher's desk drawer. But the addition of the backpack program allows us to go even farther and send food home with our children who are in the greatest need. And for that, we are deeply, deeply grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Principal Brown. I'd like to now call to the podium Principal Travis Taylor, Principal of Lexington Senior High, and also our host today. Please.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming out today. And I'm glad that we are the host for this ceremony today. So you can see the faces of the students that you guys are serving. So you can see that we're not just talking about numbers. We're not just talking about 83% of the population of Lexington City needing this program, but you're actually looking at the faces of the students that are benefiting from what you guys are doing each and every day. And that you're seeing that the work that you're doing is actually benefiting students in such a way that while we can provide food for them Monday through Friday as far as making sure they're taken care of for breakfast and lunch, but also we can provide meals for those students when they go home on the weekends as well. Because as has been said so many times by other people here already so far today, that students, it's popular saying that students don't really care what you know till they know that you care, whether they don't even know that they don't even care that you care about them if their stomachs are home, if food is not in their stomach. It goes along with Maslow's hierarchy of needs that many of us learned back when we were in college. That is some of those basic needs that has to be taken care of before we can move on to higher aspirations. Is you have to be fed, you have to be sheltered first. That's one of the things that we're doing here through the backpack programs, making sure that once we are fed with food, that we can be fed with knowledge later on. And the students can gain that knowledge and fully appreciate it. So thank you all for what you're doing. I was looking at the multimedia presentation that our community and schools personnel did with our students here today. And I hadn't had a chance to look at it before it's posted here now. But I hope you guys have had a chance to look at it and fully embrace what I think they were trying to capture. You see around the sides, different aspects of the school, things that represent our school listed as senior high school. In the middle, it's talking about the backpack program and basically what the core needs of what students need to make sure they survive and make sure they can flourish. And that's making sure they have personalization within their lives and making sure that they are fed and making sure they are thankful. And I can tell you from experience and looking at the students here at the school that they are very thankful for what you do for them. They have come to us and privately thanked us for the backpack program, so keep doing what you're doing. But as one person's already said, that the people, the students who actually pack those backpacks, they're also very thankful for what you're doing. So you guys are meeting both spectrums of that hierarchy of needs as far as providing for the food for those students and also giving students on the other end of that some sense of altruism, of giving back of themselves to a community that is larger than themselves. So thank you all for what you do, and please continue doing what you do.
Thank you so much, Principal Taylor, and thank you, students. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. We also have in the back some beautiful artwork from some budding artists from South
Lexington and from
Park.
Charles, England.
Great. So please take a moment to see all of those beautiful drawings and what's been said also on the drawings, which will touch your heart. Before we conclude the formal portion of our program, I'd like to recognize some wonderful and special guests that we have with us today. City Manager John Gray, thank you for being here. Mayor John Walser, thank you. Good to see you again. Councilor Becky Class, is she here with us today? Okay. Councilor Wayne Alley, thank you for being here. Commissioner Fred McClure, I'd also like to recognize Second Harvest Food Bank board member.
Got Ronald Reed back here.
Oh, Mr. Reed, thank you for being here. Did I miss anyone? No, that's fine. John Dunkelberg is one of our board members, Second Harvest Food Bank. Thank you for being here as well. Also, Mr. Lee Jessup, Director of United Way for Davidson County. Thank you so much for being here as well. And I hope I did not miss anyone else. Thank you so much. Would you introduce yourself?
Charles Holloway.
Charles Holloway.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charles Norris Holloway, Senior Executive for Davidson County Community Action and member of Stack High School Board.
And thank you so much for what you do as well. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to just thank all of the principals for the Lexington City Schools, and I'd like to just name them Principal Travis Taylor, Principal Rosa Lovelace, Principal Rona Lockhart, Principal Gina Spencer, Principal Jennifer Brown, and Principal Jackie Miller. Thank you all for what you do, and Superintendent as well for your leadership, and thank your staff as well. We couldn't do the program without all of you working together, so we really do appreciate that. So before we conclude the formal portion of our program, and we ask all the speakers to please come by the ribbon, and we'll have a ribbon cutting, I just want to say a few more words. I have the best job in the world because I get to not only help feed children, but I get to meet all of the good people who help feed children. So I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to be part of this, because we do this all together. And I also want to introduce the team at Second Harvest Food Bank that helps us as well, because I couldn't do this without them. We're one big family, and of course, you know the Executive Director, Mr. Clyde Fitzgerald, Ms. Tammy Caudle, Ms. Terry Glenn, who's celebrating a birthday today, by the way. Ms. Karen Harris, happy birthday. And did I miss anyone? Tommy. There you're sitting down, Tommy. Tommy Milson. So thank you all for what you do behind the scenes and helping me as well. So now I'd like to ask all of the speakers to please join me by the ribbon, and we're going to have a ribbon cutting. And one last thing, thank you for your commitment today, because you're ensuring the brighter futures for our most precious assets, our children. So thank you once again for being here.